Hey, what's going on, Black people? I hope you guys are having a good day. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, the Black Business School. I'm going to talk slowly and take my time to give you guys a chance to come in because right now it's still telling me that it's connecting to Dr. Boyce TV. But as I begin, also, I want to say welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. If you're not Black and intelligent, you may want to get the fuck out because this is not the place for you. We have smart conversations with smart Black people about smart issues that matter. And today we're going to talk about Bill Cosby. I mean Cardi B. Cardi B, the female Bill Cosby, who admitted that she liked to drug men and rob them and rape their pockets and all this other stuff, which we can talk about that in a minute. But apparently Cardi B has become a political pundit, apparently, according to Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders decided that he wanted to pander to the Black community by talking to Cardi and having these conversations with her and getting her endorsement. And now Candace Owens, who is the I don't know what she is exactly, but she's the puppet of, if you want to say, of the Republican Party. She has offered $250,000, a cool $250,000 to Cardi B for a public debate, which means that she's scraping the bottom of the barrel, just like Bernie Sanders. But anyway, I'm gonna stop. I'm being biased right now. I'm gonna let the smart person talk about this. Today, I have the honor of having as a special guest today Miss Jade Arrindell. Now, if you don't know about Jade, you should know because Jade is with FlyNubianQueenTV.com, and she is an awesome Black woman. She's an activist. She's out here doing the damn thing. And I want to ask Jade, my sister, how are you doing today?
Peace, Dr. Boyce. I'm doing well, and thank you so much for the kind and warm welcoming introduction.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And just so you know, don't worry about you don't even have to mute when you're mute your audio or anything. I don't hear any background noise. If anybody she was concerned about the background noise, but we're all family here and we can hear you fine, so don't even worry about that. So let's just start from the jump. So you were the one who brought it to my attention that Candace was offering money to debate Cardi. What are your initial thoughts on that?
Well, my initial thoughts on this is that this is like political theatrics, and really a really desperate ploy from both parties to pander to the Black community. I'll start first with Cardi B. I will second your assertion that she is like the female Bill Cosby. She does actually say that she identifies as Black, although a lot of people may debate her on that. However, yeah, she's done things. She's been notorious in the media for, claiming that she's drugged and robbed men when she was a stripper. And then I think last week or the week before, she tried to come out and say that she never actually raped anyone. And it gets on her nerves when people accuse her of being guilty of sexually assaulting males. Anyway, so yeah, Cardi B has been endorsing, well, she decided to endorse Bernie Sanders recently, and she and Bernie Sanders had a meeting. If I were a fly on the wall in that room, I want to know exactly what's discussed. I think this is an act of desperation on the part of Democrats or independents and Republicans and everyone, but especially Bernie Sanders. He's felt miserably in the media. He's felt miserably on social media when it comes to Black issues. In particular, the most important Black issue of this upcoming election and forever that I will argue is the one of reparations. He's been adamantly against reparations for Black people, people of African descent, foundational Black Americans, or, American descendants of slavery here in the United States. He has pretended as if he doesn't know what reparations is when his people, the Jewish community, have received reparations. So his meeting with Cardi B and, soaking up her endorsement, I'm sure he kind of probably patted himself on the back, for that endorsement, because we know that Cardi B is very, very popular. Young people love her. They like to listen to her. And I just think that opportunistic Candace Owens saw this as an opportunity to make herself relevant and to attempt to debate Cardi B. Interestingly, Candace Owens is desperate for attention. She's desperate. I was surprised that she threw out a $250,000 challenge to Cardi B to debate her or any Black conservative that Candace Owens chooses. And I'm wondering if this is a way for Candace Owens to kind of redeem herself for the horrible train wreck of a debate that she attempted with Dr. Michael Eric Dyson. Candace Owens is not a scholar, and he made her look bad. And so I'm wondering if she feels like she can kind of redeem her by going toe to toe on politics with Cardi B.
Well, it seems to me that Candace Owens is interesting, and if you just came in, we're talking about Candace Owens and Cardi B, and also Bernie Sanders, and just this weird thing where Cardi B she went from being, a person who admitted to assaulting men to now she's like being pulled more and more into the mainstream, which really shows that this really interesting bias. If she were a Black man who said, "Oh yeah, I used to drug women so that I could take things from them, whatever it was I was stealing," I don't think anybody would say, "Oh yeah, you need to be the next political pundit. You need to be involved in, in choosing the next president," right? I mean, that's it doesn't even matter. Even if the man wasn't committing sexual assault, even if he's just said, "I like to drug women so I can rape their pockets. I don't want the sex. I just want the money," or whatever. Like, that would be insane, right? So I think that we have to leave that. I'm deliberately putting that at the top of the table so we can remember what we're talking about. It's no disrespect to Cardi B, but it's really more so a statement about our country and how the Black man is seen so differently from everybody else. We're like we're like the walking trash cans to them. They don't care about our futures. That's why the Democrats will scream all day about what immigrants are going through at the border, which I feel for that. But you got tens of thousands of Black families still separated from their children for decades over violations of federal law where they didn't actually hurt anybody. And so if you can talk about somebody else and you can't say anything about us, I got an issue with that. So let's go into so what I'm thinking, Jade. I believe that Candace is not the one who has the $250,000. I believe I believe somebody's putting that money up. And I think it really speaks more deeply to the fact that Candace, it's fascinating because Candace Owens to me is not a completely dumb person. Candace, though, is a little bit like, she reminds me a little bit of Dr. Ben Carson, where you have this person that, before the politics, like if you separate them from the Republican Party, they're not stupid people. When Candace talks about Brexit and the frustrations Black people have with the Democratic Party, I get it. I identify with all of that. But then when she starts saying, "Oh, and that means we all need to go run and support Trump," now you sounded dumb, right? Same thing. Ben Carson, brilliant surgeon. My mama used to tell me stories about Dr. Ben Carson for inspiration when I was little, and I have not forgotten that. I don't flip with the weather. I don't change my perception of somebody just because they're now political. But when he's now saying, "I want to advocate for my people," but that means supporting Trump, that makes you look crazy. So it seems like people are putting Candace up to this in kind of a puppetish sort of way, and putting the money behind it, saying, "I want to see these two Negroes fight in public, and we'll pay money to see this prize fight, no different from Mayweather versus some other boxer or something like that." What do you think?
Well, I would disagree in this sense. I don't think, clearly I know that someone's dangling a carrot, right, or some coins. I also know that Candace Owens has a huge following. She has a lot of support. She's the founder of the Brexit movement, and so there is money there. But I would have to say, I think that she should take all the blame. Like, she's completely blameworthy for allowing herself to be in these sorts of situations and to instigate, or to be used as a tool of white supremacy to instigate any sort of division among Black folks, or to try to get Black folks to go over to the dark side of 45, the Antichrist, right? And to get onto their agenda, as opposed to sticking to a unified Black agenda that does not necessarily have to be tied to any political party at all. So someone else may put up the money. I'm sure, there are people like egging her on, but at the end of the day, she's a willing participant and a willing tool in white supremacy.
Oh, I agree with you. I don't think, I think you said we disagree a little. No, we don't disagree at all, because you're 100% correct. She's being used, but she's choosing to be used. She's saying, "Use me," and because that's what it is. There's always a high price that is paid for any Negro that's willing to make a fool out of their damn selves. Like Candace is no different from a cooning rapper who will rap about anything in order to sell a record and impress a crowd full of white people. So to me, it's all in the same package. It's all sort of in the coonery package. And I think that it's kind of ridiculous. Now, one of the things I thought was really fascinating too is Bernie Sanders. I think he has to be challenged on this fact that he somehow thinks. I mean, tell me what you guys think in the chat. Give me your comment or your thought on this. I think it's fascinating that Bernie Sanders, with all the wonderful advisors that he allegedly has concluded that the way to make up for the fact that he completely embarrassed himself on the reparations question is to go have a conversation with Cardi B. I mean, he didn't think about any intelligent black people. He didn't think about anybody that has any meaningful, relevant leadership. He went to a stripper rapper, and I listened to Cardi's lyrics, because all the kids listen to it. So I analyze her lyrics. I'm not gonna say Cardi's dumb, but the idea that they would literally think, okay, this person is at the forefront. She's the representative for this community. That says not only that, first of all, that sounds crazy, and then also it says a lot about how they view us. I think the fact that Bernie's people thought that Cardi was the person to talk to reconnect with black people, that really says a lot about how they see black people. What do you think?
Absolutely. So that's where I was gonna take this conversation next. It shows that there's a lack of respect for black people, for our struggle. And that they can just put any black face or person of color, quote unquote, to kind of speak on our issues. I was gonna go there, but I was gonna take it a little bit deeper. Neither Cardi B nor Candace Owens are what we call foundational Black Americans, meaning that they don't trace their lineage back to the killing fields of American slavery. And what does it mean when you have like these big political parties, these big corporations and people who are in positions, they're putting politicians in front of us who do not share the historical Black experience, right? Over hundreds of years of genealogy within this country. I find that to be even more insulting on top of everything that you just said. What do you think about that point?
Sorry, I'm unmuting myself. I think that you're right. I didn't make that connection. I didn't know Candace Owens' background. So she's not a foundational Black American either.
No, she's of Caribbean background as well. I believe, I kind of want to say Jamaican. And then Cardi is, I believe, and Puerto Rican or something, but also, so they may be like first generation or second generation Americans, but I'm an 8+ generation American, so I want to hear other people who have like documented receipts of their family lineages on both sides or multiple sides being directly traced here. And that we have like these Black American stories to tell, the hardships, the triumphs, the tribulations, and all of those different things. That's what we need. We need to be hearing from those sorts of people when we're talking about reparations or any form of restitution that is owed to us, and to speak on Black issues. Now, am I saying that because someone migrated here that they're not seen as a Negro or going through a Black experience socially in America? No, absolutely not. Like, they definitely are. When we're talking about history and what's owed to us, the only people qualified, I believe, to have any sort of like weight in that conversation is foundational Black Americans.
Well, let me ask you guys in the chat. I'd like to get you guys' opinion. Also, please hit the thumbs up button if you haven't done that. Hit the thumbs up button if you're on YouTube. Also, if you're on Facebook, please share this to your page, because Facebook, what they do is they deboost the posts or the live streams of people that are controversial. So y'all know we get as controversial as we need to get. So in order to fight back against the algorithm, if you're on Facebook, if you could please share this to your page, we'd appreciate it. If you're on YouTube, if you could hit the thumbs up button, that'll really help us with the algorithm. And also, I'm speaking with Jade Arrindell from FlyNewbieandQueenTV.com. I want to make sure everybody knows that. And also, for those of you who live in Los Angeles, I'll be in Los Angeles in 2 weeks, or live near Los Angeles. You can actually come out to our event at drboycelosAngeles.com. If you want to get a discount on your passes, use the code code word harvest. If you go to drboycelosangeles.com, use the code word harvest, then the first 30 people will get 50% off. I think that's the number, something like that. So you can be one of the first ones. Feel free to do that. So let me ask you guys in the chat. Yes or no, yes or no, yes or no. Do you feel that either Cardi B or Candace Owens represents you in what you stand for? Yes or no? Do you feel that Cardi B, either Cardi or Candace, connects to who you are as a Black person? Some of y'all I know don't even live in the United States. Some of y'all in other countries. So you can answer too. Do you feel that these individuals, either one of them, represent you? I'm looking to see if anybody gives a yes. I'm only seeing no way, hell to the no. I think dual wrote hell to the no. Bernie L said nope. Jose Martinez said no. Vanita says no, neither. I'm looking, okay. And naturally, Niaja says, who is Candace Owens? I agree. I think that's a good question too. I'm looking for anybody that feels that she represents or connects to the Black community, or either one of them. It's no disrespect to them. They have their story, right? They have their right to tell it. They have their perspective. I actually, ironically, Jade, you feel free to comment on this. I actually respect the fact that Candace is doing the damn thing, doing what she wants to do. I think that Candace Owens actually creates a better deal for Black people who are hardcore Democrats. Just for the good cop, bad cop theory. Sometimes you need the bad cop to make to help the good cop get the job done, right? So when Candace is pointing out the problems with the Democratic Party and pushing a campaign to get Black folks to leave the Democratic Party, if the Democrats were smart, they would be responsive to that. They would come back and say, no, that's not true. Here's some things we're going to do to really earn your vote. And it almost seems like they're just kind of stuck on stupid or stuck on racist because they're so scared of offending their white base. The white folks that they've got on the other side of the fence, that they're letting Black people kind of just, they're almost using like this psychological magic and trickery. Like we want to play mind games with Black people to get their vote, as opposed to respecting us as human beings and really truly addressing the issues that Black people have brought to the table. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I want to say that I have a lot of criticism for Candace Owens. I do appreciate anyone who steps into like the public sphere and challenges any and all of us to think or to consider other ideas. So I'll put that out there. What I will say about the Democratic Party is that they've gotten into a terrible habit of like hypnotizing the Black base as if like they aren't also guilty of perpetrating racism, right? So there's different forms of racism, right? You have segregationist racism, which a lot of like xenophobic, like Trump supporters or hardcore conservatives could fall under that bracket. But then you also have assimilationist racism and integrationist racism, and the latter two actually is indicative or demonstrative of what the Democratic Party is doing. It's kind of like saying, hey, we're the white savior. We are saying we're setting the ground rules and you're going to do things our way. And we're going to be inclusive and we're going to celebrate diversity. But at the end of the day, like we are on code, we are on team white supremacy. And they do so in a very, very subtle way, especially when it comes to national politics, as opposed to a lot of like conservatives who are just kind of like, nope, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to make myself feel uncomfortable about making you feel better. This is what we are about over here. And it's more so like in your face. And so unfortunately, a lot of our people, Black voters, get tricked into get tricked into believing that Democrats cannot also be racist or guilty of perpetuating racism. I do appreciate Candace Owens for calling that out. And on the other hand, too, I do want to shout out Cardi B for at least using her platform to start to think more politically and to start to see herself as more of an influencer and wanting to step up and take responsibility in that way. I wouldn't personally align myself with Bernie Sanders, but again, I don't have to necessarily agree with everyone's modalities, ways of doing things things or ideologies, but I do respect her for stepping up in that way as well.
Yeah, well, you know, when you think about Cardi, and I agree with you 100%. I remember being impressed with the fact that Cardi, you know, when she went on stage and she supported Colin Kaepernick back in the day, I think it was at the BET Awards. So I don't think, I'm not a believer in just beating up Cardi no matter what. I think that Cardi can be challenged, but beating her up and saying that she's worthless, I'm not a big fan of that. I don't see things in black and white. Nobody. I don't see her in black and white. I don't see Obama in black and white. I don't see Trump in black and white. I don't see none of it in black and white because I'm too smart for that. You're too smart for that. We're too smart for that. The people in this space and this platform are too smart for that. You know, but what I will say is that I think with Cardi, what's interesting is that I would say that Bernie, for, you know, if his goal is to try to get elected by liberals, you know, that's what he's trying to appeal to. He's trying to ignite his liberal base. He's not going to get a lot of moderates. He's not going to get a lot of, you know, a lot of black folks are not liberal. You know, a lot of black folks are like, you know what, we have family values that aren't in alignment with everything that comes out of a liberal's mouth. Some of that stuff y'all saying is sounding crazy to us. Tell me yes or no if you think some of that liberal. I think I remember even seeing where Target or one of the big department stores was going to stop having a boys and a girls section for clothes, and they were going to have everything be gender neutral. I was like, what the fuck is that? Like, I don't know nothing about that shit. Like, that's stupid to me, right? So I think that, you know, to the extent that Cardi is not just a person that appeals to black people, she has fans all around the world of all different ethnic backgrounds. They tend to be liberal, right? They tend to see Cardi maybe as a champion for the rights of sex workers, things like that. Which is fine, right? But they can have that conversation because liberals, that's kind of their MO, right? We want, you know, we want you know, we want to do certain things when it comes to sex and gender. We want you know, to legalize, you know, drugs and prostitution. We want, you know, whatever, right? And some of that's okay, some of it's not. It is okay for people to feel how they feel. But I think that appealing to Cardi, it ain't a black thing. And what I'm really hoping is that there's nobody in Bernie Sanders' camp who has led him to really believe that talking to Cardi B is the same as talking to black people. You know, the B in Cardi B does not stand for black. She's not Cardi Black. Maybe she's Cardi Bill Cosby. Maybe the B stands for Bill Cosby, but it don't stand for black. You know, so he's going to get a base there. But if you're really talking about trying to talk to black people, that's when you got to do the stuff that a liberal won't do. Especially not a liberal person from the Jewish community, which means talking to somebody like a Farrakhan. Right? You know, millions of black people support and respect people like Farrakhan. And the fact that you're going to try to demonize some of the leaders that we respect the most, who are really out here doing the damn thing, really doing the work for the community, putting us, you know, really getting on the front lines for us, that is going to alienate a lot of black people. And also, when you consider the fact that the liberals can speak all day about a lot of liberal issues or speak a lot on issues that relate to maybe immigrants, but have very little conversation about things like, for example, the fact that 45% of all black males in Chicago between the ages of 20 and 24 don't have a job and are not in school. That's a problem, right? When you could talk about little children being locked up, you know, the kids from El Salvador, you know, being locked up with their parents in detention centers, you know, which is what happens when you break into a country, by the way. If I go break into China, they're not going to just say, well, come on in. They're going to lock my ass up, right? No disrespect. And I'm not dissing anybody, but that's what happens, right? But at the same time, it's like, if you're going to talk about somebody else being away from their parents for a couple of weeks in a detention center, I don't see why you're not also talking about all the tens of thousands of black people right now who are incarcerated under nonviolent federal crimes that should be released. I'm okay if you release the people in the detention centers, please go ahead, but release us first. Give us free. You know, like seriously, like give us free first. And then, you know what, if you want to go, I'll vote for you. You know, in fact, Bernie Sanders right now, I'm gonna stop talking, I'm gonna let you talk. Bernie Sanders, if you're watching, if you go and you free 50,000 non-violent black people who violated federal law, you know, and you can even go to the ones who've been in prison for say 5 to 10 years or longer, I will vote for you, I will endorse you, and I will go out and I will personally speak on behalf of getting rid of all of the detention centers. But if you can't talk about black people first, then I can't talk about you. Go ahead, Jade.
Better yet, Bernie, if you're listening, until you apologize for the disgusting lie and for you feigning ignorance as if you don't know what reparations is, you know, for Black people, when it's good enough for your people and other groups of people, then I would never support you, and I will never advocate for any other Black person to support you. I just had to throw that out there in case Bernie is listening. What makes both of these parties racist is the policies that they support, the policies that they push, which are anti-Black policies. There are very, very few policies out there. I'm not really hearing much, especially coming out of these candidates lately, as of late, that will that you know won't in some way affect Black folks. So I wanted to put that out there in terms of like both parties being racist. But to go back to your point, I think most Black voters don't, like, we vote religiously and we vote by default for the Democratic Party because we feel like there's an expectation to, and because like Democrats can really make you feel good, right? Democrats can make you feel wanted and respected, and like they respect diversity, and they're not going to call me the N-word, and they're not telling us to go back to where we came from, et cetera, et cetera. So that is like very, very appealing on an emotional and a psychological level when you're talking about, you know, our demographic, which has been systemically and historically oppressed. And I think that's one of the things that makes the Democratic Party so appealing. But unfortunately, a lot of Black voters don't even know where they stand on the issues. I'm constantly like evaluating and reevaluating where I stand on issues, especially as like the national conversations change, especially as new legislation is proposed and passed, etc. For example, I just took 2 political polls. One was on the Pew Research Center site. It was like a political interest scale. So I got to see where I fell there. And then I took another poll, which identified me as a centrist, right? Like in the middle, like not necessarily, not conservative, definitely not liberal. So I guess, you know, moderate maybe, but like very, very, very center. But interestingly, on the Pew Research poll that I took, and it provided an analysis, I was identified as a disaffected Democrat, which I thought to be really, really funny. So they asked you a bunch of questions about, you know, about a bunch of different issues. And from there, I'm able to like kind of see what resonates for me, what doesn't resonate for me. But I'm always looking critically at both ends of the spectrum, at both political parties and like the people in the middle to say, hey, which policies are deal breakers for me? Like what's really important for me? Well, what are the trade-offs, et cetera, et cetera? And I need us as a group to be more informed voters. And even for those of us who can't vote, we can still be civically engaged and active, you know, civically, especially within our neighborhoods and communities, et cetera. But we need to know, we need to define where we stand on the issues, and we need to empower ourselves to choose as opposed to allowing other groups that are both team white supremacy, that are anti-Black, that support anti-Black policies to determine that for us.
Well, you know what I'm going to show you a picture, Jade, and check this out. You mentioned the Democratic Party. You said that one of their attributes is they believe in diversity, right? So now, mind you, Cory Booker and Kamala Harris are not in this particular debate. But
Yeah.
When you look at this picture, do you see diversity in this picture? What diversity can we really say that we see?
Well, one may argue that there is gender diversity in the picture, right? So, you know,
Right.
like how find it like women. Oh, women are in the house. Oh, that's diversity. Someone may say an LGBT, I'm not sure, is Buttigieg on here? You know, sexual preference and lifestyle equates diversity, right? People coming from various socioeconomic backgrounds, although they're still white, that constitutes as diversity, right? And the Democratic Party knows how to use that and maneuver that to draw to draw people in. But what I will say is that the Black voting bloc is the most dedicated voting bloc to the Democratic Party, which is why they're so desperate to keep us active and politically engaged, because women, white women, you know, other so-called minority groups or ethnic groups, they tend to vote for the party or the candidate that's going to push their policies and their interests. Black folk have historically, and I know Dr. Claude Anderson talks about this extensively at the All Black National Convention last year. I got to have a private conversation with him. You know, he even said that Black folks, we're the only group that we consistently vote for the same candidate, the same party over and over again without anything else in return.
Mm-hmm.
We don't as like, you know, like a business transaction. It's just kind of like tithing or, you know, giving something away. But yeah, there isn't a lot of racial diversity shown in that photo. Now, there will be some racial diversity shown in the photo from tonight for tonight's Democratic debate. But again, you have to take into consideration how diversity is being defined in America today. And it does not necessarily mean Black people or ethnic diversity.
Yeah, well, everybody who's watching, I'm speaking with Miss Jade Arrindell from FlyNubianQueenTV.com. Actually, Jade goes live on Fly Nubian Queen TV. What is it? Is it Monday, Wednesday, Friday, right?
Yep, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
FlyNubianQueenTV.com, Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Also, if you're watching, I hope that you will hit the thumbs up button. If you're on Facebook, I hope you share this conversation to your page. The other thing I want to make sure you guys know about is I'll be in Los Angeles in a couple of weeks. So if you want to come and hang out with us for an investment seminar in Los Angeles, you can go to drboycelosangeles.com. We'll be celebrating Harvest Festival Day, which is a Black holiday created by Dr. Claude Anderson. And if you use the code word harvest, you can actually get half off the investment seminar. You don't have to go to that part. You can do the other things too. But if you want to come to the seminar, you can get half off by using the code word harvest. Also this weekend, for those who are interested in building wealth, you know we believe in wealth building. If you want to join us Friday, we're having a free event online. It's digital, where we're going to talk about how to buy multifamily rental property. A lot of you asked us about that, so the Black Business School, we delivered for you. So Friday, we start about 8 p.m. Jullien Gordon, a Stanford graduate who's our Dean of Real Estate, is going to lead this. If you want to go there, sign up now. Sign up at theemancipationequation.com. THE, that's theemancipationequation.com. Okay, so somebody please type in theemancipationequation.com so everybody can see it. And now we can move on. Now, the thing that's interesting to me, Jade, is this. Here's what I think about, you know, I think the Democratic Party, I think I figured out their dilemma. I've been studying white people for a long time, and I think I know what's going on. All right. Couple things. One, when they say that they're the party that believes in diversity, they believe in diversity as a fuel for the accumulation of power, but I don't know if they believe in diversity in terms of sharing power. It's hard to share power. Actually, if you want to just keep it 100, I don't believe it's even in human nature to share power. It's very hard. You have to almost make people share. If you want power, you got to take it. Black people still have to learn that. That's why you should read books like Powernomics. If you look at that picture, you know, of this group of people that claim to believe in diversity, but yet they have no racial diversity, not in that picture anyway. And then even the Black people they have, you know, they're both like light-skinned Black people as well. No colorism here, but you know what I'm talking about. If Obama looked like Wesley Snipes, he never would have been president, right? So the fact that they claim to support diversity but have no diversity in the leadership, it kind of speaks to an overseer mentality. Like, look, we want you on the bus. We just don't want you driving that damn thing. You know, we're going to drive the bus because we're the drivers and it's our bus and and that's what we want. So don't come up in here acting like you want the bus. And the reason that there's a conflict of interest is because Black people are not stupid, as stupid as we might have been in the past. You know, we've never been really stupid, but sometimes they make us stupid. You know, they brainwash us and all that, right? So we're waking up. Every day they're listening to people like you and me and Dr. Claude Anderson and others who are giving us a different perspective, which is leading us to come back to the negotiating table and to ask for more. So Black people for the Democrats are a lot like a side chick who wants to be promoted to the wife, right? Or she's like saying, or at the very least, she's saying, look, why aren't you saying my name in public? Why are you hiding me in the closet? How come you can't come to my house for Christmas? Why are you always not available on Christmas, Thanksgiving, or whatever, right? You know, why are you always calling me from work? How come my kids don't get the same priority as her kids, right? That's what we are. We are the political side chick, because what's happened historically is they've always tried to figure out, how do we keep Black people's loyalty without being loyal to Black people? And the thing is that there are Black people who just believe in fairness, equality, and quid pro quo. They say, look, if you show loyalty to me, I'll show loyalty back. If you don't show me loyalty, then fuck you. You know, so I'd like to know your take on that. I just think that that's what their issue is that they're not used to Black people really stepping up and kind of challenging them and saying, okay, show me what you're actually doing to earn my vote. I'm not going to give you my vote by default. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that goes back to the integrationist and the assimilationist racist concept, right? Like a assimilationist is one who says, just totally give up your language, give up your customs, give up everything about yourself that makes you uniquely you, and we're all going to be the same. We're all going to be one. Racism is perpetuated in that sphere. Now, integrationist is one who says, you know, we celebrate your diversity, we'll take you, come as you are, and yet I'm still going to define what the agenda is going to be. And I feel like liberals do a really good job of doing that. Now, in terms of power, the concept of sharing power, well, the idea that power can't be shared is something that comes right out of a Eurocentric ideology and playbook. You know, the same crap that the shooter read, the shooter from California the other day, the mass shooter, the 19-year-old white boy, domestic terrorist, white supremacist who shot up all those people at the Garlic Festival. Their ideology, or, you know, white power, says that like power cannot be shared, right? Power is something also that has to be taken, and you have to maintain and hold on to power. That's a true demonstration of like how powerful and impactful that you are and you will be. Now, from an African-centered paradigm, like things can actually be shared. There can be harmony. There's an abundance. There's enough for everyone. So there's not necessarily a need to kill, rape, pillage, rob, and steal in order to gain power. So I think that we have to know how this game of white supremacy is playing, and like how we as Black people, Black voters, are being used as pawns within that, because they can make you feel good and draw you in to their agenda or into the party. But as soon as you start talking all that Black stuff, right? As soon as you start talking, you know, endorsing the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, then they will shun you and get rid of you. You know, if you get off code with like their message in the direction that they want to take the party or take politics in, then there's really no place for you. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of us who do end up in political situations where we're really trying to advocate and create change for the Black community, like we have to be really, really clear that like of who these people are and what we're up against, and what some of the trade-offs may be. I just think that we have to know what our deal breakers are. And unfortunately, I think it may take another 50 years, which is way too long, for Black folks to say, actually, we're going to start voting as a group according to our own interests, or as independents, or like form our own parties. I wanted to say that. And also for people who are just tuning in now, I want to read, if you don't mind, Dr. Boyce, I want to read Candace Owens' tweet to Cardi B. Is that okay? All right. So this is what Candace Owens tweeted. Candace Owens is a Black woman, if you don't know. According to this article in Newsweek, it says Owens, founder of the Blexit movement and former communications director at student conservative group Turning Point USA, picked up on Cardi B's apparent support for Bernie Sanders and laid out a challenge. Quote, "I see that Cardi B is politically advocating for Bernie Sanders with claims that Trump is bad," Owens tweeted Monday. "I would like to publicly offer $250,000 to a political campaign of her choosing if she will publicly debate her stance with either myself or any Black conservative I choose." This story is trending in multiple news media outlets, and there's a picture of Candace Owens right next to Cardi B. So, you know, along the lines of the point that I was just saying of like power being taken, power not being shared, knowing that white power is dominating both the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, I am really, really disgusted by how the media is playing up this scenario as if it's going to be like some political Love and Hip Hop, you know, or like some drama or like a cat fight, because these are two arguably Black women who are still being portrayed, you know, within the realm of stereotypes publicly through the media. And I wanted to get your thoughts on that, Dr. Boyce.
Well, let me say this. You know, Cardi has already rejected Candace Owens. She's already. I'll share this page with you guys. This is on Uprocks. This is. Let me share this page with you guys real quick. Basically, it says Cardi B delivers a classy clapback after Candace Owens challenges her to a debate. Cardi B's political takes are getting all kinds of attention lately, from Bernie Sanders acknowledging her support to blah 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 blah. So Candace Owens, this is what you just mentioned. I see the Cardi B is politically advocating for Bernie Sanders, and people have retweeted it. 134,000 likes. Wow, a lot of people are into this conversation. So Cardi wrote, "Why don't you use that 250K for a charity? That will be more helpful. I like Bernie because since the 60s, he's been fighting for equality. It looks like progression is really his passion. I still want to ask other candidates questions that my followers would like to know." So, so Cardi tweeted back and she said, "My actual goal is to educate the youth on our candidates, to advocate and spread the message on any candidates they choose to support, the same way you do for your favorite. That is all." What do you think about Cardi's response, Jade?
I appreciate that it was a classy response. I appreciate that, you know, she's not going to allow herself to do the thing that I just said that I was afraid of, like these two Black women going back and forth, and it seems to be a cat fight. I like that she took the high road. If she believes, I mean, if she likes Bernie Sanders for fighting for quote unquote equality in the 60s, I'm curious to know more about that, like to know why and like what forms of equality that he's been fighting for that she really, really appreciates. If it's racial equality, I would completely disagree with that. But I mean, good for Cardi, good for her. Candace can go take that money and put it into a charity, hopefully something that can serve some Black people, but probably not. I don't know. And also, yeah, the equality that Bernie Sanders is advocating for clearly does not include me or my Black foundational Black American people, because he doesn't support reparations. But if that works for Cardi, I would say, hey, good for her.
Yeah, I think that Cardi, you know, in the debate is you know, or this whole conversation about, you know, debating Cardi B and everything else. I understand Cardi's response in the sense that Cardi is kind of just saying, look, I'm an advocate. I'm not trying to get into this shit show of politics in that way, in a messy way. I'm just supporting the person that I believe in, just like you're supporting the person you believe in. It looked like the tweet was thought out. Somebody, maybe Cardi didn't even tweet it out, but it's because it's a strategic response, you know, because Cardi goes ham on Instagram and Twitter and everything else. I mean, you know, and those, you know, very public meltdowns have always been like really bad for her brand in certain ways. You know, and then, you know, and I'm sure somebody's had a talk with her about publicly confessing to crimes like, I don't know, like drugging men and robbing them while they're asleep, or making them sleep with transvestites, which is sexual assault, by the way. You know, and which I don't think we should forget about. But I think it is her right to walk away from the debate. And I think that Candace was seeing this as an opportunity for attention, because you see where she writes, "Please retweet," and the tweet got a bunch of, you know, responses and everything else. And I think that's kind of what Candace's MO is. Look, I want to be famous because I am going to be out here and I'm going to be the loudest voice in the room. She actually, there's a show on Showtime right now about Roger Ailes, who was the president of Fox News, and basically Candace operates a lot like Roger Ailes did. You know, Fox News is kind of backing her, sort of having this bombastic brand, which is interesting in the sense that, just from, I'm gonna be a little bit intellectual with you guys for a second. I hope you guys can go with me on this because I don't care about the politics. But Fox News exists for a reason. Trump exists for a reason. Candace Owens exists for a reason. And the reason they exist is because you've got about 50 million people or more, maybe 100 million people in this country that don't feel like they're being listened to. You know, they feel like their views, because they're conservative, they're being mislabeled, because the liberals love to label people. They love to name call. They love to socially engineer these terms and constructs that put people into boxes. And I'm not a fan of that. You know, I will tell you what, you know, as much as, and this is the reason I push back when people just blanketly say that all Trump is a racist, even though he's got all these Black friends and everything. I'm not saying that I don't agree that he's a sick, really fucked up human being. I do agree with that. But the reason I push back on that a little bit is because I would hate for somebody to have recorded every single thing I've ever said about white people in my entire life. And, because then they would be like, well, Trump said this and you called him a racist, but you said that. What does that make you? Now, of course, we have the whole conversation about, well, you can't be racist if you're black. I actually don't agree with that definition because they say, well, black man can't be racist because you don't have the ability to implement a system in which white people are discriminated against based on the color of their skin. No, I actually do have the ability to implement that system. It's called my company. In my company, if I decided to discriminate based on race, I could do that because I own my own shit. And that's why I told black people, if you want to get away from racism, find a way to own your own shit, and then you get a chance to live in a different space. But with that said, I think that when we got away from allowing people to have freedom of speech, freedom of thought, and freedom of expression, the Fox Newses start propping up, the Trumps start coming out, because these are symptoms, these are reflections of the fact that we can't ever have any sort of meaningful conversation if I think that every white person who votes Republican is an automatic racist. I just don't believe that. I know I have people in my family that support the Republicans because they're like, I hate the Democrats. And nobody votes for a candidate anymore. Nobody votes for a candidate. They always vote against the other person, right? So I remember 2012, the Republicans were all like, Obama's Hitler. He's the next Hitler, right? Now that with Trump, the Democrats are like, Trump is the next Hitler. He's Hitler. And then I remember in 2012, people were like, oh, Obama hates white people. He hates white people. Now they're like, oh, well, Trump hates black people. He hates black people. And if you support Trump, then you hate black people too. Man, shut up. I just can't be that stupid. The thing is, honestly, and I'm gonna get your take on this, Jade, is that that's the curse of intelligence. I think a lot of you are probably feeling this. You're living in a crazy world where people are engaging in this like mob justice, mob mentality. And I remember that's how Einstein felt when he lived in Germany, when all the Germans were, felt like all the Jews were evil and bad and everything else, and the world's going to war because everybody is putting people in a box. And he was like, this is going to end badly for you, So I just think at the end of the day, somebody has to have some common sense in the middle of all this. And I will talk to a Trump supporter in a minute, and I will talk to them in love. And I believe that we can sit down, have a conversation, and I can walk away saying, well, I think that what you said was bullshit, but thank you for giving me your perspective, and we can still be friends. What do you think? I mean, am I just a big dummy for thinking that way?
Right. I think you're right. I think, unfortunately, because we do we put ourselves in boxes, we put other people in boxes. And unfortunately, most Americans are not putting themselves in situations where they're even communicating or interacting on a daily basis with people that have differing ideologies and lifestyles and perspectives on things. And I think that's where, both political parties have been able to manipulate the American public. Now, in terms of freedom of speech and freedom of expression, like I do work in social justice and anti-racism, right? And so there's certain social justice concepts and words that have become normalized. One I'll bring up is like people of color. So people of color, like every non-white person is being referred to as a person of color, under the assumption that we all have the same racial experiences and the same day-to-day life experiences, which is false. And so when I get into social justice circles, just as some folks want to be referred to, with the pronouns that they specify, I have to let people know off the break, I am a Black person. So you can refer to me as Black, you can refer to me as African American, you can refer to me as a person of African descent, but do not ever refer to me as a person of color. And then, a lot of people are like, and I'm just like, no, like that label is not something that I choose to identify with. So if you want me to respect you and your labels and like your ideologies or your lifestyle or whatever it is, then you will not ever refer to me as a person of color. So I definitely do agree with that. And like, I see how people who have been shamed for so long are now feeling emboldened. A lot of conservatives are feeling emboldened, like a lot of Black people, for real, we just don't want to admit it because we don't want to face any backlash. We don't want white folks to get upset with us. We don't want to make anyone uncomfortable, right? Because a lot of us are still relying on the emotional charity of white folks. But a lot of Black people don't agree with same-sex relationships, or same-sex marriage. A lot of them don't agree with abortion and other topics, immigration, so forth and so on. And so I can only imagine what white conservatives were enduring under 8 years under the Obama presidency, where a lot of these new ideologies and like lifestyles and different ways of seeing things were mass projected, especially through media, and everyone's expected to fall in line with that. I think I see that Dr. Boyce is out of the meeting, but I'm still live, so I'm going to keep talking. I'm sure he'll chime back in. So what I also want to say is, I don't necessarily believe that every single person who identifies as a Republican is automatically a racist, because they're racists in both political parties or in no political parties, like as an independent. But what I will say is the issue that I do have with 45, I call the Antichrist Donald Trump. Spiritually, I believe he's evil, but also he's using propaganda and hatred, like all of these talking points and all of these white supremacist attitudes, right? And he's appealing to his white nationalist bases. But the issue that I have with him is that he's using his platform in such an irresponsible way that's encouraging others to inflict anti-Black racism onto all of us, right? We see all of these hashtags. There's state-sanctioned violence and police killings. People are getting off with immunity. People are afraid of being deported. Yes. And then you just have day-to-day white folks who will call the police on you for no reason, selling water, selling lemonade, barbecuing, going to the swimming pool, walking in a neighborhood, looking suspicious, X, Y, and Z. So they're taking all of their cues from him. And I no longer see it as whistleblowing. During the 2016 election, people were saying that Donald J. Trump was whistleblowing to the conservative base. He was whistleblowing. So now it's no longer whistleblowing. He's sounding sirens, attacking, Black women, attacking other non-white people on Twitter, et cetera, et cetera. These are all behaviors of a maniac. So do I think that every single person who identifies as Republican or votes Republican is a racist? No. Do I have an issue with the racist in chief in the White House at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Northwest Washington, D.C.? Absolutely. So that's what I want to say. And it seems that the meeting ended. I'm going to just go back and let you all know what the topic for today was. Before this broadcast ends, we're talking about a tweet that Candace Owens sent out to Cardi B, challenging her to debate a Black conservative. And this was done after Cardi B endorsed Bernie Sanders. And so according to this article in Newsweek, I read this quote earlier, Candace Owens said, "I see that Cardi B is politically advocating for Bernie Sanders with claims that Trump is bad." Owens tweeted on Monday, "I would like to publicly offer $250,000 to a political campaign of her choosing if she will publicly debate her stance with either myself or any Black conservative I choose." Right. And then Dr. Boyce and I were just talking, and he pulled up another article and he showed it on the screen, where I was real proud of Cardi B. She gracefully said, "Thanks, but no thanks. How about you take that $250K and invest it into a charity?" She could have said, "You could take that $250K and shove it somewhere else where the sun doesn't shine." So either way, this was a conversation today. Also, thinking about the Black voter, the Black non-voter, but definitely the Black voter, how susceptible we become to feeding into the lie that only people on one side of the political spectrum are bad people or evil people, which is absolutely, it's just false. It's just not true, right? What makes people racist is the policies that they create and the policies that they push and the policies that they endorse. And unfortunately, we have independents who support racist policies. We have Republicans and Democrats who support racist policies. And, you know, racist ideas and racist behaviors are things that we choose to do in the moment, and we can also choose to not do them. And I think that, like, when we're consistently supporting racist policies and using racist ideas to create and push racist policies, then, you know, folks are being racist, and we get to call them out on it. So many anti-Black racists out there, all over, everywhere. So I am going to pull up my YouTube and take a look at the stream and see which comments that you all are putting into the comment box, into the chat box. I want to thank you all for tuning in to drboycetv.com. If you don't know me by now, my name is Jade Arrindell. I'm a contributor on flynubianqueen.com. I have a new show that streams every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern time. And I'm hitting on a variety of topics. My background is in education, organizing, activism, but also in anti-Black, like undoing systems of racism and white supremacy, and focusing on like dismantling all forms and functions of anti-Black violence, anti-Black racism. And so the way that I design my show is on Mondays, I hit on some trending topics, and then I talk about issues that we can kind of organize around, like things that we can move around. So I call it Move It Mondays. On Wednesdays, such as today, I'm celebrating all of our successes. All Black excellence will be celebrated. I'm calling it Winning Wednesdays. And then on Fridays, I have Free Yourself Fridays. So you can message me, and we can kind of talk about specific ways to overcome, confront, address, and do some strategizing around anti-Black racism, whether it's showing up in your family through like colorism, whether it's showing up on your job, whether you've been a victim or perpetrator or a victim of racism. And I can kind of help engage for us to like kind of depersonalize some of those things, because, you know, all of the hate, all of the negativity is designed to take us down. That's exactly what white supremacy wants us to do. And we're not about that life. We're not going to do that. So I am pulling this up, and I want to see if the stream is still going on. And again, I'm thanking you all. I see myself now, I'm still talking. Thank you all for tuning in to drboycetv.com. Dr. Boyce was just on. I think there's some technical difficulties. So I'm going to read some comments until he comes back in. All right. I'm going to just adjust my locks too. All right. And shout out to all the moderators in the room. Shout out to all the moderators. I want to ask you all to take a moment to like this video and make sure you share this video, because we want this message to get out there. You know, this is an intelligent conversations for intelligent Black people, and it's important for us to listen to different perspectives and have these sorts of dialogues, so we can kind of be in the practice of defining what our values are, what our stances are politically for ourselves, and, you know, not allowing any other group or any other person to define that for us. So I think, you know, what we're engaging in is a very necessary and a very fruitful conversation. What I will say before I read a couple more of these comments is that I was really disgusted by this story, and how the mainstream news media was trying to kind of pit these two Black women against each other and make it, you know, like there's so many racial and stereotypical undertones on that. And I was glad to see that Cardi B handled it, or Cardi B's team handled that clapback for Candace Owens in a really dignified and respectful way. And once again, I want to shout out, I'm not a Cardi B fan. I don't listen to her music. I did see her on Love and Hip Hop when it first started, like back in the day. And I found her to be really funny, really charismatic. I mean, I don't get down with a lot of like I don't like to use this word, but like a lot of the ratchet behaviors. But I think that, you know, Cardi's a good person. For the most part. I mean, I don't like the anti-male comments that, you know, she was trying to justify, like, you know, when she was a stripper, when she was a dancer, she had to do, quote unquote, what she had to do in terms of drugging men, taking their money and making them sleep with transgender people against their will, et cetera, et cetera. She tried to clarify that. I mean, I have a whole list of things I can go on and on and on about things that I don't appreciate about Cardi B. But what I do appreciate her for in this moment is her response to Candace Owens. I really do appreciate that. And while I don't agree with Bernie Sanders' politics, if that's something that works for Cardi, okay, that's fine. I mean, that's not the candidate that I would endorse. Also, I think Dr. Boyce brought up earlier that, you know, he appreciates Candace Owens for talking about how the Democratic Party also like does things that sabotages like Black progress and like Black people and like the different policies and things that they do like towards the Black community that don't benefit us. And so I think that there's something that like there's pros and cons to, you know, this political conversation, especially when we're looking at like bipartisanship or like this two-party system. But it's important for us to have these sorts of dialogues so we can kind of figure out where we are. I mentioned earlier as well, if you're just tuning in, that I have, if you Google political, like what political quiz or political interest quiz, you can kind of go in and see kind of where you fall. There are multiple ones. I know I took one recently and it says that I'm a centrist based off of all the issues of like immigration, things in business and trade, economics, race relations, et cetera, where I fall. And it's completely like in the middle. And I took another one, like the Pew Research Center has like polls and stuff that you can take. And I took one of those as well. And I think it identified me as a disaffected Democrat, which means like kind of Democratic, but not necessarily like a hardcore one. All right. King says Cardi B appreciation, really? Yeah, I appreciated the fact that she didn't get ratchet and start like cursing and acting a fool, you know, in response to Candace Owens. That's what I was shouting her out for. But again, we can appreciate or, you know, shout someone out for doing something positive and not necessarily throw the whole person away because of everything else. The reparations point erased any Cardi B endorsement. Yeah, I definitely was saying, if you're just tuning in and you didn't see it earlier, I could never ever support Bernie Sanders or anyone who does not believe in the restitution for my ethnic group, which is foundational Black Americans in this country who've endured generations of, you know, enslavement and living as prisoners of war in this country. Techu says, peace, queen, and the family in the chat. Peace, Techu. Sister Vicky Diller's in the house. Hey, Vicky Diller. It's shocking to elevate her while she's beating up on Black women and catching senseless cases. Yeah, I definitely, listen, I am not in any way elevating like Cardi B or endorsing Cardi B at all. What I'm referring to is Cardi B's response to Candace Owens, right? Her response to Candace Owens, which is take that money, put it into a charity, thanks but no thanks. Does that exonerate Cardi B from all of the, I wish I could curse, I would say all of the effery that she does or has been doing? Absolutely not. But I do appreciate that she wasn't like acting all crazy and acting all ratchet on Twitter, which is what I've seen her do, or like go live on Instagram and just, you know, start snitching on herself. And also like she has never been held accountable for any of that stuff that she said. Yep. So all right, you all, I want to thank you for tuning in to drboycetv.com, and I will be back on here soon. If you want to come over to flynubianqueen.com tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, make sure you check me out there. And also make sure you check out our sister Vicky Diller at Fly Nubian Queen at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time tonight. Have a nice day.